Hello, my name is Greg Landry and I'm the Director of Human Resources for North Andover Public Schools. I recently had the honor of organizing a very special live event at North Andover High School that gave us an opportunity to come together to celebrate our teachers and staff. We recognized 27 teachers, adjustment counselors, BCBAs, SLPs, and nurses in their 4th year with the district. We also inducted one of North Andover's finest into the school committee's Educator Hall of Fame. You will have the pleasure of meeting Peter Concannon, the Hall of Fame inductee for 2022, in just a few moments. He will be formally introduced by our school superintendent, Dr. Greg Gilligan. At this time, I'd like to call out the names of those who earned professional teaching status, or PTS, with the school district this year. From the Ann Bradstreet Early Childhood Center, we have Melissa Curran and Mary Jacobs. From the Atkinson School, Amy Veray. From Franklin, Hillary Alden, Laura Balacqua, Terry Donovan, and Jennifer Meeks. From Sargent School, we've got Rachel Mazzetti, Maria Rogers, and Dana Woodford. From the Thompson Elementary, Brenna Brown and Lucy Fry. From North Andover Middle School, Kelly Bradley, Sheila McGinnis, Susanna Parker, Jennifer Pino, and Ellen Roosh. From North Andover High School, Caitlin Enright, Jennifer Fraser, Robert Garrett, Mara Goodrow, Colin McLaughlin, Bruno Molteni, Kathleen Robinson, Emily Sliva, Paul Vigent. And someone who services all of our schools, Lisa Baronotto. What a hardworking and caring group of individuals who our children and colleagues have the privilege of being with and learning from each and every day. Before we go any further, big thanks go out to our friends at North Andover's CAM for producing this wonderful and inclusive video and for being at the live event on October 26th to oversee the audiovisual support. And I would now like to introduce our superintendent, Dr. Greg Gilligan, who may tell us a little more about professional teaching status and who will introduce Peter Concannon.
I'd like to congratulate all of our teachers who reached professional teaching status in the North Andover Public Schools. Back in 2019, each of you were hired through a rigorous process of initial screenings, interviews, and demonstration lessons. Now in 2022, principals and building administrators have, through direct observation and consultation, determined that you have the knowledge, teaching skills, work habits, and commitment that are needed to successfully impact the academic achievement of our students. This pandemic has certainly changed the lives of each and every one of us significantly. And believe me, as superintendent of schools, your efforts over this 3-year period have not gone unnoticed. It's impossible to express in words how much I admire and appreciate the professionalism, resilience, passion, strength, creativity, and dedication to our students and their families you have exhibited. This is a decision that is very significant, not only because we have made an investment in you as teachers and educators in the North Andover Public Schools, but because you have made an investment with us. We also know that the quality of our teachers and educators in North Andover make the biggest impact on our main investments, the students of the North Andover Public Schools. So again, congratulations on earning professional teaching status. As the superintendent of schools, I'm proud of each and every one of you, and I hope you have a long, rewarding career in the North Andover Public Schools. At this time, it is with great pleasure that I introduce Peter Concannon as the newest member of the North Andover School Committee's Educator Hall of Fame. Pete began his career at North Andover High School in September of 1992 and remained until he retired at the end of June of 2017. Pete served the North Andover High School for 25 plus years, and during that time, I had the unique opportunity to view and appreciate Mr. Concannon's skills from several perspectives. As a teacher and colleague, and as a former vice principal working with Pete at North Andover High School. He brought his expertise, loyalty, spirit to North Andover and our district for over 2 decades. And in that time, Pete Concannon impacted hundreds, maybe thousands of at-risk youth in the process. Pete has over the years provided hope, support, and pathways to success for hundreds of students and helped staff who may have struggled with conflict, trauma, mental health issues, grief, and substance use. In my 2 decades plus, I can tell you that Pete Kincannon has helped our most at-risk students in profound ways, save lives, and put students who saw a bleak future back on track to be successful. I'd like at this time to share a few quotes from some of Pete's former co-workers. Mr. Kincannon was our school's adjustment counselor. As such, he provided support to his students as well as all other teachers and their students. Pete Kincannon's immeasurable contributions to the well-being of North Andover High School community over a span of 25 years lie in his personal expertise, his professional knowledge, and his innate compassion. And that was submitted by former vice principal and longtime high school teacher, Mr. Bert Noyes. Next, Mr. Kincannon's positive attitude in working with colleagues was contagious, contributing to ongoing positive interactions among staff as well. His efforts helped create a caring and compassionate school environment encompassing students, staff, and administrators. Pete is an outstanding North Andover High School educator, and that was submitted by Dr. John DeFlumery, the former director of guidance at North Andover High. And the last quote from his nomination packet was submitted by Ed Martin, who was the former assistant superintendent and principal of North Andover High School. As Pete's principal for 5 years, we collaborated closely around those teens who needed that extra bit of care and guidance. He was also the kind of person who could think broadly and creatively. So I often sought out his thoughts and opinions about general school issues. He was a consummate professional who cared deeply about every student with whom he worked. In closing, Pete is one of the most caring, resourceful, successful, and talented educators I have ever worked with in supporting students. Simply put, Peter Kincannon is the best of the best, and I'm not surprised at all by his nomination to and acceptance in the North Andover School Committee's Educator Hall of Fame. I cannot think of anyone more deserving. Congratulations, Pete.
Thank you, Greg. I'd like to thank Bert Noyes, John DeFlumery, and Ed Martin for nominating me for this award. But before I can accept it, there are a number of other people I need to thank, and I'd like to tell a little story. I graduated from Westfield State College in 1981 with a degree in health and physical education. And it just so happened that 1981 was the same year Proposition 2.5 passed. Needless to say, I could not find a teaching job. So I ended up taking a job as a program director at the Old Colony YMCA in Brockton, Massachusetts. There, I rapidly rose through the ranks, and at one point, I may have been the youngest YMCA director in the country. Unfortunately, I had never taken an accounting course or a business management course, and my supervisor described my management style as, quote, flying by the seat of my pants. Before getting fired, I reached out to some college friends who were criminal justice majors, and they helped me land a job as a recreation officer at MCI Norfolk, Massachusetts' oldest and largest prison. Although this job was a better fit for my skill set, I think I would have been safer if I was literally flying by the seat of my pants. So I started applying for teaching jobs again. The psychologist Erik Erikson describes adolescence as a search for someone or something to be true to. In 1985, I feel like I finally found both. I married the love of my life, Sheila Boss Concannon, and I met my first mentor, Frank Stevenson, the principal of the Greater Lawrence Educational Collaborative's Alternative School. After being hired as a half-time phys ed teacher and half-time crisis counselor, Frank introduced me to the works of Rudolf Dreikurs, Alfred Adler, and William Glasser. It was there that I embraced the role of the teaching counselor and the concept of life-space counseling. Several years later, a man by the name of J. Emmett Goggins started visiting the alternative school. He had assembled a team of superstars like Rick Gorman, Peg Ekholm, Diane Bassett, Bill Boutlier, Steve Bucco, Joe Hain, and others, with the intent of starting an alternative program at North Andover High School. I met with Emmett a couple of times and tried to indoctrinate him with our philosophies and methodologies. I told him that we believed that most misbehavior and discontent was the result of an individual's feeling like they didn't belong or that they couldn't contribute. I told him that I believed that to be an effective counselor, you had to find a way to be in the student's life space or quality world. Emmett listened and said simply, "I agree with that, but North Andover kids belong in North Andover." So he started the Focus program and hired me as the director. We turned an old home ec room that had been used as a closet into an in-school restaurant and drop-in counseling center. Initially, I taught fencing and food service, and for the next 24 years, 180 days a year, we served at least 30 meals a day to students and staff. My friend and colleague Sarah Hickey and I did some math, and we figured out that that's about 6,000 calzones, 15,000 steak and cheese quesadillas, and at least 14,000 chicken pot pies. Now, each chicken pot pie did more than fill someone's stomach. Building the pie was an opportunity to build islands of competency, islands of trust, and to give the students an opportunity to contribute. It gave them the opportunity to move and do, and yes, it gave them the opportunity to have fun. I'm extremely grateful to all the administrators who were willing to think outside the box and embrace the methodologies needed to help make North Andover a place for everyone. I'd like to thank the elementary school teachers and staff in the district, who I consider the curators of culture. In the classes I taught, I'd often be lucky enough to have a student who wasn't typically in any other mainstream classes. Often I'd ask a mainstream peer if they'd be willing to partner up with a student. I'd always get the same reply, and it went something like this. "Absolutely, Pete. Mrs. So-and-so had me work with him in second grade, and we've been friends ever since." I'd like to thank the middle school staff for their compassion and professionalism and for their refusal to accept hazardous duty pay while working in a sea of social and emotional change. I'd like to thank Erica Murphy, Joyce Philbrick, Camille McLaughlin, Joe Manning, Todd Workman, and the late, great Dave Philbrick. I'd like to thank Pat Gagney, Pat Grassis, Pat Roy, and Megan DeMario. I'd like to thank all my friends and colleagues at the high school. I appreciate your collaboration, dedication, and creativity. It truly takes a village, and it was an honor to work with you. Last, and certainly not least, I'd like to thank the students that I had the opportunity to work with over the years. You made me feel like I contributed something, and you made me feel like I belonged. Thank you very much.
That concludes our spotlighting of very important educators in our system who have impacted the lives of so many young people. If you're interested in more information about the Hall of Fame induction process, please visit northandoverpublicschools.com and click on the School Committee heading. There will be a link that has all the information on how to nominate a former educator. April 30th each year is the deadline for nominations. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you all next year for another celebration of our staff, past and present. And in the meantime, take care and be well. Thank you.